Hey everybody, ADHD Coach Ryan here, and today we're going to be talking about a topic, working from home, or really anywhere that's not your standard work environment when you have ADHD. I know for me, when I started my coaching practice, it was really fun to think, well, wait a minute, this work means I can work in my pajamas all day. But you quickly find, or at least I found, that if you bring a pajama or a sweatpants mentality into the day, that's going to really affect how you approach your day. And if you've ever worked from home or worked remotely from a coffee shop or co-working space or anything, you know that there is advantages and disadvantages. So today, I'm going to be providing you with tips and strategies for being the most effective you can be when working remotely with ADHD. Tip number one for working more effectively remotely when you have ADHD, productivity sprints. During some of my coaching calls, I will ask them, hey, do you know who this is? That's one of the world's best marathoners. Okay, so what? Well, then I'll ask, well, do you know who this is? Well, yeah, of course. That's Usain Bolt. Good news. ADHD brains, we're like Usain Bolt because we work best in sprints. Other neurotypical brains might do really well with long projects, but for ADHDers, we really struggle with that because, as Dr. Ned Hallowell says, for our brains, it's either now or not now. So to make things more present, to get that sense of urgency, we have to create consequences and have a focused period of time. So that's where productivity sprints come in. But imagine having a clock up in the corner for 10, 15, or 20 minutes, and you pick a task you're going to work on. Normally, you know how to do it, you know why it's important, and you know that you want to get it finished, but you just for some reason can't get it going. If you have a deadline you're working against, that's when our brain kicks into gear, right? You jump into a productivity sprint with using tip number two, productivity partners, productivity pals. So to increase accountability, bring someone else in to basically help babysit each other. I always say that an ADHD brain is like a balloon. If it's left to its own devices, it'll blow away with the gentlest breeze. To get around that, what we have to do is sync up with other people, preferably those with ADHD, and we can be in a non-judgmental environment of productivity. So what I have figured out is I need to have accountability partners. If I don't have a manager checking in on me, I may not be able to keep myself accountable and keep the promises I make to myself. So if you're interested in learning more about it, or if this sounds intriguing to you, the more the merrier. Let's get together. If you want to learn more, comment below. This will be a secret code. Productivity Pals. Comment that below. Productivity Pals, and then I'll get it all set up and give you the VIP invite. Sound good? A lot of people ask me, what is it like to have ADHD? And I said, well, it's like everything is important, but nothing is important. That can sound confusing. So I can say, well, pick out the most important things you want to work on today. And that can be like saying, so I tell my clients, you have to find a structure, a way to sort through all of these thoughts, these thousands of thoughts that come to us every day, and pick out the ones that are most important. There is something known as the power of the pause. And what my clients do during calls with me is it forces them to stop thinking about all of these other thoughts, clear those away, and decide what is most important, what is most valuable. And that's why I refer to it as your most valuable priorities. As you've noticed in some of my previous videos, I talk about the process of getting diagnosed and how there's that balance of relief and regret. Now let's talk about that regret for a minute. When we think about, man, what if the past would have been different? What if I would have known sooner that I had ADHD? The fact is, you can't change it. You learned when you did, and you can only focus on the present moment. So let's make the most of it. So the very first step of any work that I do with a client is to have total unconditional acceptance. It's just like if you needed glasses, for example. You wouldn't be upset that you need glasses. It just is the way it is. So look at your ADHD the same way. So even though you might need to take a few extra steps or put extra structure and accountability in place, that's all right. Because in the end, what matters is that results get respect. So as long as you can get to those same results as anyone else, that's all that really matters. Looks like my time timer reminder just went off that it's time for me to get lunch. And yes, I have to set reminders to actually eat. When you have ADHD and you work from home, that's a big challenge. So you can see in here, even though I work from home, I pack my lunch. Why? Because now I don't have to stare into the fridge blankly and wonder, what am I gonna eat for lunch? Because that might result in not eating anything. So now it's time to show you some work from home tips in action. I'm here in my office, and I like to keep things visual, like we talked about. So, for example, I have Andrea and I's strengths listed here. Have other motivational things, like one of my clients sent me this picture of a guardian angel that reminds me of what's important. Pictures of my kids and godkids. And then most importantly, today's action item. So I just keep this right here at all times, keeping it super simple, so I know whenever I have that moment, which I probably will, where I say, all right, what am I supposed to be working on right now again? I look down, and as long as I'm working on one of those three, that's the important part. So there you have it. There's the pros, the cons, and all the tips for working effectively, remotely, or from home when you have ADHD. And just know that these struggles that you might be facing, you're not alone. We're all in this together. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You just need strategies that work for the way that our brains are wired. And speaking of, if you want to get more strategies on how to make your ADHD work for you instead of against you, make sure that you subscribe here. You can gently tap the subscribe button, and you can also hit the little bell icon to make sure that anytime that I put up new content, you can be notified about it. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you got some great tips that can help you to be more effective when working remotely or from home. Be sure to comment below. Would love to get your feedback and know what strategies have worked, or if I left something out and it works for you, make sure to share it so the whole community can see it. Just know that I believe in you. You're not alone anymore, but I actually have to go. I'm gonna go play with the kids. See ya.